Alright, so we're going to move on to ride height here. We were talking about how this is only run on carpet and the chassis thickness. One of the things I do that's real important, I do this when I first build a kit, but I want to know, kind of have a 0 point here on the shocks. So I will build the shock, and I build mine to 57 millimeters from this end to this end fully extended. I'll probably have to do a whole nother one. I actually have a whole nother video on shock building for T4 shocks, but I get this center hole in the, or that bleed weep hole in the cap lined up with the facing side of the eyelet, and I run my shock. There's like a laser engraved X-ray marking on there. I always put that at the bottom so that I can, turn the shock spring and then find what rate I'm running. We're running 2 5s all around here, but I did that on this one, but I haven't done it on the other 4. But the main idea is you just want to have the shock turn so you can go down the same amount on both sides. And when the car's right, you shouldn't have to turn it more than maybe a 1/4 turn on each shock at most to get the ride height identical. Otherwise there's something bent or broken or tweaked. So I've lined up that hole. We'll get a little Sharpie mark there so I know. And I know on the regular like gravity spec tires it's like 5 or 6 turns down. These tires are a little bigger, so we're just going to go down 4 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4 turns there. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side. It also helps to know if something gets messed up and you get tweaked or you have to start over, you can go back to 0. That's 1 turn. 2, 3. It looks like somebody else has already tried to do this. 4. So we're at 4 turns on the rear, and that puts us a little tall. That's at 6 millimeters. So I'm going to go down 1 turn, and sometimes I break this down on my mod sedan. I'll break it down into 1/8 turns, 1/16 of a turn sometimes, just to get it just how I like it. And you might remember this, Dave. 3 turns gives you about a 5.4 ride height on your car. Okay. Now that'll change because we're going to do the same thing here on the front. I'm just going to back these all the way off. I'm having problems with my phone. I only have like 8 minutes of videos, so I'm feeling rushed to get everything in within 8 minutes. We're going to keep turning these until I find that center spot. Alright, then I'm going to mark them. And it looks like Chris, the owner of the car you said before you, has done this because you can see kind of some Sharpie marks on there. I see silver and other things, but now we ought to be able to go down like another 4 turns or 3 turns here. The fronts usually have to go more just because of the geometry of the front arms and stuff. Getting the collar separated from the cap can be tough once you've tightened them. Alright, so we said 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to find that our ride height back there changed a little bit, maybe because we changed up here. And if you look, bring the camera over here, you can see, like I said before, I like to try to find that, that's at 5 millimeters, that's great, but the little ear is a really good place to test. If you really want to avoid getting, we're at 5.2 on that side, which isn't too bad considering we haven't looked at much on this car, haven't untweaked it. But getting in this ear is a good spot because that very rarely rubs down in that little crevice. So if you are on asphalt, that's one thing to consider. So we're at like 5.0, 5.2 in the front. And without this being balanced, that 0.2 of a millimeter difference doesn't bother me. And then the rear, we're still at 5.4. So we must have been close to 5.4 already, and that one's at 5.2. So just in terms of ride height, it's not perfect, but it would take some more work to go through getting the balance right and setting up, making sure it's not tweaked. But those are different videos, so that's just some basics on getting ride height and how I do my shocks so that I can repeat the same thing. That's most of what I do, is either to repeat it time after time after time on the bench without running the car, or I do things to make sure that I can know if something's broken or wrong. It's kind of an indicator of a problem. Thanks, Dave. I think we're ready to move on.